Ladies, gentlemen, and expeditioners of all ages, some people just want to watch the world burn, and today we're going to be the ones to set it on fire. There are tons of fun ways to play in Clair Obscur Expedition 33, lots of different ways to build each character, and today we're going to be going over our first Act 3 build for the game, which is going to be a proper 3-character combo with Maelle, Verso, and then Sciel just as a pure support with one main purpose, which is giving an extra turn or extra damage to a different party member, which is just a really powerful way to make use of your third party slot when building around one character as your main power base, or around 2 characters in this case. The idea, then, the entire thing, is burn stacks. So many burn stacks applied to enemies, high damage burn stacks, and then Maelle has this lovely, extremely powerful ability called Burning Canvas, which does bonus damage for each burn stack the target currently has. And with the amount of stacks you can get up to, things can get pretty insane pretty quickly. And that's outside of Maelle herself just being capable of insane damage output as a whole. That said, we'll go through this character by character, then a quick rundown of how to actually play with this setup as well. And I want to be clear that while I am level 84 at the end of this footage section, I was like level 50 to 60 when I first hit for over 10 million in this exact setup, which, while not an insane number compared to what is possible in this game, is really solid for right at the start of Act 3. And it was that level of power that let me farm things like a level 33 weapon within the first couple of hours of this act. And while the main setup is a low health build that takes advantage of running around at 1 HP, I will also go over how to convert it into not being that, and more or less how much you'll lose by doing that for the cost of more comfortable combat. First up then, as Maelle is our main damage dealer, we'll start with her, and for her we're going to be using the Maelle Weapon. This is first available by using Maelle in the Gestural Village Arena quest in Act 1 of the story, and having her win the final fight of that event. But if you missed doing it then, because you can only do that once, you can also get this weapon in late game by beating Golgra in a duel. Specifically, go to the Gestural Village, talk to the chief, and you can challenge her. And this is very doable if you're in endgame anyways. This weapon then scales off of your defense and agility mainly, and agility is a stat that we would be pumping up to 99 no matter what, so that is a nice enough overlap as far as I'm concerned. But the big deal here is the level 4 bonus on the weapon, Start in Virtuose Stance, and then the other 2 bonuses are just sort of the cherry on top, being every burn applied is doubled in Virtuose Stance, and burn deals double damage in Virtuose Stance as well. This matches the fact that we will be building burns generally, but generally speaking we are here for the fact that you can start turn 1 already in Virtuose Stance for the massive turn 1 damage boost that gives you, and the fact that we can then chain that into consecutive turns. For the skills that we are after specifically, there are 4 particularly important ones within this setup. Last Chance puts you in Virtuose Stance and gives you 9 AP, at the cost of putting you down to 1 health. When playing a low health build, this isn't a detriment, it's a bonus. It's also worth noting that because this directly puts you to 1 health, it doesn't count as taking damage, and it doesn't take any shield charges off of you either. If you use this while already in Virtuose Stance, it just makes it so you keep Virtuose Stance into your next turn and have full AP going into that, which is lovely as a whole. As with our setup as a whole, we can output an absolute buttload of damage just with pure free aim shots, and I have Maelle built so she can throw out loads of free aim shots during the actual build-up turns, which is something that I will explain a little bit more in a little bit, but for now, this skill is important for the build, and that's why. I also recommend picking up Mezzo Forte if you want to run this without a low health build, as this is an extremely similar skill to Last Chance because we start in Virtuose Stance. This lets us stay in Virtuose Stance for our final AP and regain some more AP for the next turn. Then for the actual damage skills, our main ones, the main thing that we're synergizing with is Burning Canvas. This is a 5-hit void damage skill, and what makes this really powerful is that you can build it sort of infinitely as it scales increasing damage per burn stack that you have on the target. This means if a boss had 10 billion health, in theory, you could technically do all of that damage in one of those 5 hits of this skill if you got enough burn stacks on the enemy before using it, which means the potential of this skill is through the roof. That said, it does require build up to reach its true peak. You do have to get lots of burn stacks running to make that happen, and in any situation where you already significantly overpower your opponents, that time spent building up is a bit of a waste, at least for single target damage, in which case we have the Stendhal skill instead, which is just absolutely insane single target damage in 1 hit. Like when the stars aligned, I've hit over 100 million with it and again, I've only been in Act 3 for probably about an hour or two at this point, and so Stendhal is sort of your best option in any situation where there is one enemy with no shields or any tricks of any kind, but Stendhal is always good. It's just a nutty skill, so I'd rather properly focus on burning canvas and the fun synergies you can do around it, and have Stendhal here as a backup. As for the Pictos and Lumina within the setup then, I have Cheater as a Pictos, manually applied as a proper Pictos, to save her the 40 Lumina points for damage scaling. And what this does is just make it so that you have an extra turn each time that you have a turn. This comes from Sprong, the open world optional boss, and then the other two Pictos that I have properly equipped were just chosen for their raw stat bonuses more than anything, with In Medias Res being one that I wouldn't have on as a Lumina effect either way, as if we want to play a low health build regardless, starting combat with 3 shields and only having half of your max health is honestly purely a positive, and this gives you a nice little safety barrier of those shields, letting you be able to make a couple of mistakes per fight before dying, even when playing this as the low health version of the setup. And this one is just on the ground in the Dark Shores location that you start beside in Act 3. That said, here is our full list of Lumina effects then. Starting with the mechanically important ones, we have Burn Affinity. This increases your damage against burning targets. Burning Shots gives you a 20% chance to apply burn stacks when you do a free aim shot, so this gives us a nice way to use your AP to generate some extra burn stacks, while our free aim shots themselves do tons of damage as well. We've got Critical Burn as well for bonus crit chance as another burn synergy when the enemy is burning. We have Critical Moment, and this is one of our low health components, as it gives you another 50% crit chance when below 30% health, and this goes with At Death's Door, which is a 50% damage increase when you're below 10% health. We have First Strike as well to make it so that you always have your turn before the enemies, and we've got this on all of our characters. Then we've got free aim shot synergies just sort of in general. Powerful Shots down here is a 20% chance to give yourself the powerful buff when you do a free aim shot, powerful increasing your damage with anything that follows that. Marking Shots gives you a 20% chance to apply mark to a target on free aim shot. Rewarding Mark gives you 2 AP when you hit a marked target once per turn. So if one of our shots marks the enemy, the next shot will then give us an extra 2 AP, and that will let us fire 2 more times in that same turn. We've also got Double Mark, which then makes any marks that we apply also give you 2 hits of mark instead of just 1. So more damage consistency in general, higher damage output for each of our shots overall. Then we also have Beneficial Contamination up here, which is plus 2 AP gained when applying a status effect once per turn. This counts for applying burn, so if you then were to hit the 20% chance from burning shots to apply burn for one of your free aim shots, and then you also happen to get the 20% chance to apply mark as well from your free aim shots, then you can get up to an extra 4 AP during your turn on Maelle. If you start the turn with 9 AP, that means you have the equivalent of 14 AP, assuming those bonuses don't awkwardly overcap, but that does sometimes happen. But in the perfect situation, if they happen at the ideal times, you get 13 shots on Maelle before you then have to spend 1 AP to keep Virtuose Stance into your next turn. Past that, we have the Shield Affinity, a Luminous effect as well, to go with In Medias Res, because this gives us a 30% damage boost while we have shields, and In Medias Res makes us start with shields at the start of combat. We also have Greater Powerful. We have Powerful Shots to give us Powerful, so Greater Powerful increases the effect of that buff. Then past that, it's more just sort of generic damage increases, things like Immaculate or Glass Cannon, things like Inverted Affinity, Roulette, Teamwork. Of course, you need Painted Power on every one of your characters, because otherwise you will be capped on damage, and that is the biggest thing you can do to sort of nerf yourself at this stage. And then we've got a couple of energizing starts on top of that too for some more first turn AP. For our stats then, you want to focus on maximizing agility first, because speed means more turns. More turns means way more damage than just other stats in general. Then you want to focus on might secondarily, and then focus on defense as your third stat after that. With the low health version of this build, we gain 50% crit chance in combat, and you get an extra 25% against burning targets. So when both of these buffs are active in my current setup of Pictos and such, I am at exactly 96% crit chance, which is near perfect. 100% on the dot would be ideal, which you can do with just a few points into luck as well. And if you're choosing to run this as not a low health build, you would instead want to put points into luck before you put them into defense, just to get you back again to around that 100% critical hit chance. Next up then, we have the addition of Verso as a character into this setup, and his purpose is pretty much just building unbelievably high amounts of burn stacks as quickly as possible, for which we are using the Maelle Weapon, which drops from the enemies in the Dark Shores zone that we mentioned earlier. This is agility main scaling, vitality secondary scaling, which is pretty great. Level 4 bonus apply 2 burn stack per rank on base attack. The per rank part of that is really important because this goes up to 10 burn stacks per base attack when you hit S rank. Double that with the double burn Pictos that doubles all burn stacks generated, and if you combo that with all the Pictos that give you extra hits on your base attack, you can get up to 80 burn stacks applied per turn purely from your base attack at the end of it. But there's even more to this as well. He also gets +1 AP on rank up, which you can think of as an extra free aim shot whenever you generate an extra rank, and then at level 20 it increases burn damage per rank as well, which means if you ever somehow let turnover progress to your enemy's turn, which very rarely happens like this, they will then take an immense amount of damage from the burn debuffs itself. For the skills then, there are 2 that are important for this, the rest are sort of personal choice. The main 2 then are Overload, which sets Verso's health to 1, and while for the most part we are essentially using Verso to fuel Maelle's burning canvas, Verso's actual damage output in the setup is nothing to scoff at either. It's nowhere close to Maelle's, but he is still pretty good at outputting some damage. So you can either play it safe and not use Overload if you want to be more comfortable, use him purely as a way to fuel Maelle by applying burns without also being low health, or you can instead use Overload, go to 1 health, and get even more damage out of Verso as well. The second skill that I recommend with this is Phantom Stars. This is extreme light damage to all targets, multiple hits, and it can break if the break bar is full, and this importantly only costs 5 AP when you're in S rank, which you get to very quickly. You'll see in a moment why it's important that we have a break option on Verso specifically when we go to look at the Pictos that I have equipped here, and for this one essentially you just want some nice stat stick Pictos on your actual Verso. Fueling Break is my main stat stick here, as it only would cost 5 Lumina points to have as a Lumina ability, but it has a bunch of speed and crit chance inherently on it. It's worth noting as well that all 3 of these Pictos that I have on here are connected to Luminas that you would want in this build regardless, so try and build it based around that. Speaking of the Luminas then, we have a large majority of the same things that we had with Maelle, so for any repeats from there, I won't explain it in too much detail, but we have all the same sort of free aim synergies going on here, because free aim shots are the quickest way outside of skills to build perfection rank on Verso. Like with Maelle with 9 AP, you can hit up to 14 shots per turn from these effects. Add on to that you gain an AP when your rank increases because of our weapon, and Verso can hit even more than 14 shots in a single turn if this all lines up nicely, which then helps us build up even more burning stacks because of burning shots, and then of course that is less than we get from the base attacks, but it does help add up, as well as just increasing our rank in general. Past that, we also have a bunch of base attack synergies going on in this build as well, as we are using the base attacks to apply burn stacks. The most important ones that you're after here are Energizing Attack for +1 AP on base attack, and this importantly means +1 AP per hit of the base attack, because we also have Combo Attack 1, 2, and 3 equipped. Each one gives an extra hit to your base attack, meaning if you have all 3 of them equipped at the same time, your base attack is 4 hits. We've got Augmented Attack for a 50% increase to base attack damage as well, of course. We've got Exposing Attack to make our base attack apply defenseless to the enemy, which is a debuff that makes them take more damage. We pair this with Greater Defenseless, which improves the actual effect of that debuff, making them take even more damage when we apply that with Verso specifically, which can then increase the damage that Maelle does to the enemy on her next turn. We've also got Double Burn, which is a very important one for this, as this literally just doubles any burn stacks that you apply, including all the ones for the extra rank bonuses from the weapon as well, and that's why we can apply up to 20 per base attack, which is up to 80 per full base attack, because again the base attack has 4 hits, each hit applies 20 burn, so 80 burn stacks just from the base attacks per turn. While I haven't had a fight reach the point point where it makes sense to use this, I do also have Fueling Break within this setup, which just makes it so that when you break a target, it doubles the amount of burn stacks that they currently have on them. This is just so incredible if you were to be able to get it off. Literally doubling the stacks that you've built up is a really powerful effect if you can use it after a few turns of buildup on Verso, but I just honestly haven't found an enemy that survives this build long enough to trigger a break with Verso. But it's also a part of this, and triggering this is the thing that would really scale this up even faster if you were to have it happen. So of course I do have to mention it, I have to point it out, and it is in the build. And of course we do also have the cheater effect as well as first strike, just to make sure that we can go twice and that we can go before our enemies go as well. And of course, while cheater costs 40 Lumina points, it is so unbelievably worth it. It's so powerful. As for the stats on Verso, I have gone full in on agility, which I recommend on any character, then mostly into luck after that, and when my crit rate hit something that I was happy with, I started going into might as well as the next priority stat. Then finally we have Sciel within this build, and she's essentially just here to make the other characters play more. Her weapon makes no difference to this really, use whichever one you want. The only thing that you need is 2 specific skills and some Lumina effect. The first of these skills then is Intervention. What this does is let you target an ally and then make it their turn instead of yours. If that character also has the cheater Pictos, which both of our others do, they will then get to go twice in a row. So you essentially use Sciel to give double turns to another party member who already has double turns. In this case, when planning to use Stendhal on Maelle, you would give extra turns to Maelle to use that ability quicker. Whereas if you are trying to build burn stacks for the long haul, trying to get burning canvas to scale upwards, you would instead give the bonus turns to Verso so that he can build another massive chunk of burn stacks before Maelle's next turn. The other skill is Fortune's Fury. What this does is literally double the damage that an ally does for their next turn. If you have the AP economy for it, by which I mean if you start your turn with 9 AP, you would ideally use Fortune's Fury for your first turn, the cheater Pictos would give you a second turn, and then you would use Intervention during the second turn to give your turn to another character, which then would let them chain into another turn as well. And that's really hefty on the AP cost. You won't be able to do that every time on Sciel, so consider what you want more in each situation. Do you want one of the other characters to have another turn sooner, or do you want Maelle's next turn to be a massive nuke? As for the Pictos, cheater is pretty important, again, just on any character, but the ones that you really want are first strike, to make sure that Ciel's first turn is before the enemy's first turn as well, and then you want anything that gives you more AP as much as possible, including the marking shots and rewarding mark combo that we have on the other 2 characters, as you can generate more AP than you spend with that if you get lucky. But then also things like energizing parry is a really good call for this, which will get you a number of extra AP per turn that the enemy takes if you're good at timing your parries. And that's pretty much it for Sciel, entirely used for buffing or shuffling turn order and not much else. For her stats, the only one that will help this at all is agility for more speed. Otherwise, I recommend putting more stats into luck until you hit 100% crit rate, and then pumping it into might for more damage. As for adjusting this entire build setup without the low health concept, you would simply want to remove any of the Pictos that activate at low health. Then for Maelle, you'd want to use Mezzo Forte as an ability instead of Last Chance at the end of your turn to maintain Virtuose stance without putting yourself to 1 health. And for Verso, just don't use Overload at all, as simple as that. That does it for how to set up the actual characters then, so to try and quickly go over the concept of how to treat this in combat, if you are doing low health builds, you need to set Maelle and Verso's health to 1 once per rest. This will then carry over and continue for any other combats you get into until your next rest, unless you're doing the Endless Tower activity, which does reset your health every fight. Maelle's first couple of turns are mostly used to just fire off free aim shots at any smaller targets, with her insane damage just from the free aim shots because of our equipment and Lumina choices. You never want to go below 1 AP on Maelle, because if you do, you lose Virtuose stance. Your last AP of the turn always needs to be spent on either Last Chance or Mezzo Forte, depending on if you are playing low health or not. During Verso's turn, you want to find the priority target if it is a multi-enemy fight, and then just unload load your entire AP into them with free aim shots. You'll get anywhere from 9 to 15 or so from a full AP bar, depending on luck of when the different percentages sort of pop, and then use your base attack when empty on AP on that same priority enemy. This is where our burn stacks will really start to build up. Then ideally, Sciel will go third if you have her with the lowest speed stat of our 3 members here, which you can easily organize by just having her with the lowest stat boosting Pictos equipped. And then, as mentioned before, you can either go into Fortune's Fury on Maelle, or Intervention into either other character to give them an extra turn. Or if you have the AP, you can do both. As well, it's worth mentioning if there's, again, any really relatively simple single target fights, you can just pop off Stendhal on Maelle as your first turn, end the fight instantly. Otherwise, if you are building burns, when you're ready for the fight to end, blast away Burning Canvas from Maelle for massive damage. And it's worth mentioning the highest damage that I hit with this during my testing was around 16.5 million in one hit, which of course instantly one-shot the enemy. But it's worth noting this attack is a 5-hit combo, and every hit of the combo can do the same damage outside of things like roulette effect triggering, which means this can do 5 times the amount of damage that one-shots most enemies. And that's why, to show damage numbers on the skill, I'm generally showing you the end screens of a fight where it shows the highest damage that you did in the fight, because it just always ends the fight on the first hit of the skill when I use it otherwise, so you don't even get to see a damage number. That just about does it for today then, everyone. A really powerful burn setup focused build around Maelle as our main damage dealer, with some hefty burning being applied from Verso and just buffing the rest of the things, and then Sciel as a full support, enabling the other 2 characters to do even more than they already are. I hope you've enjoyed this then, and hopefully you find this build fun if you try it out for yourself as well. Like if you liked the video, subscribe to the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.